Hi, friends. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Kim, and we'd like to welcome you guys to episode number 4 of Holistically Curious.
Episode 4. Woot woot.
What?
Yes, Kim.
Was that very enthusiastic?
It was less than enthusiastic, but I mean, at least you got it contextually correct. If not, you had like the letter of the law, but not the spirit.
Exactly. But I have to say, it's because I'm friggin' exhausted.
Oh,
Yeah, but for a very, very awesome reason. I
really?
have to tell you what I did last night. Yes.
What did you do last night?
I went to an amazing Bollywood fitness fusion class called Monsoon Fit.
Bollywood. I love
And
Bollywood.
it's Bollywood dancing meets an aerobics class. And I have to tell you, I have never had so much fun working out in my life. I sweat so much. It was ridiculous. I literally, when I got home and took my clothes off, it was like I had just taken them out of the washing machine. I mean, that's kind of gross, but I sweat my booty off, literally. But I had a
Oh, that sounds
blast.
like heaven. And I'm picturing you in like a Bollywood movie lineup. Did you have the big Bollywood smile the whole time?
Well, I had a good smile half the time, but after I got so tired, I think my smile was fading. Even though inside I was smiling, I just didn't have the energy to externally lift the corners of my mouth anymore. But yeah, I mean, it was so awesome. And I have to give a shout out to Monsoon Dance in Austin, Texas, because they just have an amazing program. And I can't even tell you. I just literally loved it. And I'm not a dancer. Like, I am the worst at picking up choreography and that kind of stuff. She made it really easy. And I'm definitely doing it again next week and try it out.
We'd mentioned before that I was going to be in Austin for the Nation Expo.
Yes.
Is that the same group that you had that was dancing there, the Bollywood
Yes.
dance? Oh,
Yes.
that was so cool.
They just were delightful, and yeah, they're really cool people. They teach Bollywood dance, they teach Indian folk dance, all different types of folk dances. Yeah, just really neat. But I just thought that was super fun, that fusion, of those two different things coming together, and it's just about laughing, smiling, moving your body, enjoying life. It's all good.
Oh, I love that. It reminds me of like ecstatic dance.
Exactly,
Yeah.
except choreographed.
Yeah. But those girls, I mean, sorry, Kim, the ones that entertained for us at the expo, no
hmm
offense to all the other girls in the whole world, but they were the most beautiful girls I've ever seen.
I know, absolutely. And you could just tell inside and out. Like they just radiated. And I think a lot of that's just the joy of doing what you love. Like it was obvious they loved what they were doing.
Yeah, we should all be so lucky.
Right? And it's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
exploring. And I think that's what part of this website. It's about trying new things, exploring new things, because you never know. If you don't, you might miss out on these things that will set your soul on fire and finding that thing that gives you that inner joy. And so that's why I was like, heck, I'm going to come try this class. And I loved it. So
I'm so proud of you.
yay. Hey, I was a little nervous going in the door last night. It's always the hardest just walking in the door. Once you're in, it's golden, but it's that moment of I could turn around and go home, or I could, tough it out and walk in the door. So,
That's one of the things that I'm really working on with myself. Trying to break out of even the little shell that I've developed since I've been working from home, you become less and less inclined to get out of the house and talk to people. I've actually shown up for a trivia night 2 different times got to the door and went home. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really proud of you that you
Well,
opened the door.
and well, I appreciate that. And I definitely know where you're coming from somebody who loves my cave. And, but hey, so you didn't walk in the door those times, you drove to the parking lot. So it's all about steps, and
Mm,
maybe you do not go in sometimes, but it's the process, and it's just not being hard on yourself when you're not, maybe for some reason you're just not ready. For people out
yeah.
there, set those goals for yourself, but if for some reason you get there and you just can't, that's okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. Tell yourself, next time I'll try again, and you're going to end up where you need to be.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, what else, my friend? What have you been into? What's been going on? It's been a couple weeks. What do you want to chat with us about today?
So I've mentioned before, Kim, and I just mentioned right now that I work from home and I'm kind of isolated since my husband and I moved to Maine 4 years ago. Plus, I'm like you, I'm a cave bear, so it doesn't really necessarily bother me, but I've become really accustomed to not interacting with actual live human beings on a daily basis. And then, pow, like all of a sudden, I've been around nothing but people for the last few weeks.
Shock to the system.
Shock to the system. Like, it's like stepping onto Mars and you're in the, oh, I don't know, the Total Recall cantina
Oh
or
gosh,
something.
right? Yes. I can visualize that completely.
Only with much more attractive and holistic
Good,
individuals.
good.
So first of all, we mentioned the Omnation Expo, which was awesome
Thank
sauce.
you. I
Yeah, no,
agree.
thank
Oh
you.
my gosh,
Yeah,
I'm just, yeah, super happy. We had a great turnout. Lots and lots of amazing people came out. It was super fun.
it was fun, and I got to meet a couple of our listeners, which was just such a thrill for me. Until now, I thought they were an urban legend, but they're actually out there.
There's one or two out there, and we appreciate you so much. Thank
Thank you,
you.
one or two.
Thank you, one or two. We love you.
So much. But Kim, from my heart, you should be so proud of
Well,
yourself.
thank
And
you.
not just, what you've done personally, like organizing, orchestrating, building that expo, but holistic vendors and
Hmm.
practitioners that you gathered together around you. It was just incredible. It was joyous for me to talk to
Oh,
them
good.
and not only hear how much they respect you and how fond they are of you, but they reached out to me in friendship. So that was like, it meant a lot to me.
Hmm.
I'm used to being sort of solitary for 4 years, so it was really neat.
Yeah, they're amazing individuals for sure. And it just shows you there's such great people out there. There really
So
are
yeah,
so many amazing, wonderful people in this world.
that was a lot of people. Like
Hmm.
a
Yes.
lot of vendors there,
Hmm.
and there were a lot of people coming into the expo, a lot of
Right.
attendance to the expo. So that was a lot. And then we got back, we had barely a week, and we had to turn around and go back to the airport. And we picked up some friends of my husband, Mark, a mother and daughter who are arriving from Australia for a visit.
Hmm.
The mother, Jill, she and her family basically adopted Mark when he was stationed in Australia years ago.
Oh,
And they just loved him, and basically he became another son of the family. And it's meant so much to him, and this has been more than 25 years. We've never lost touch with them. He's known them longer than he's even known me.
hmm.
And once I was in the family, they took me right in. So we were really honored when Jill and her daughter wanted to come over to the States, and they said, we'll come to Maine and we'll tour with you. And it was just such a great experience to have them with us. But all of these, even though they were positive interactions, a lot of people around and a lot of good interaction that I'm not really used to. And it got me really thinking about how we form the bonds that we form and how we form our tribes.
Mm.
So that's what today's discussion for me will
Wow.
be is about forming our tribes and the importance of having a tribe.
That's really cool.
Oh, thank you. I kind of complained to you since I've been here, and I'm like, oh, I can't find, and I think we've used that
Hmm.
expression. I can't find my tribe. One thing that I've learned when I've been looking into this is it's not a passive activity. Like you don't just even just put out to the universe, I want a tribe, and they just gather around you. It's very much something that you have to work on. So, found some information, Kim, that was so interesting about why you should even have a tribe.
Okay.
Now, I told you I'm a cave bear.
Yes.
You're a cave
Yes.
bear. I think both of us for years on end would be pretty darn happy in our little offices, with just maybe a pet, comfy cozy with a computer, but we'd be okay.
Yeah, as long as I had a nice blanket in my office and a furry little family member, a little love bug to snuggle up with, I'd probably be a happy little clam.
I'd be, yeah, and I have been so happy, really most of the time. It's just once in a while you look up and you go, oh, I'm alone.
Yeah.
Is that normal? Maybe I should fix that. But there was there was a study, and I love my studies.
Yes.
So this is about a town of Italian immigrants in the United States in the 1960s. I'm going to say it's called Roseto, Pennsylvania. Could be wrong. Roseto, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Yeah. So in the 1960s, they were very close knit. The women cooked in communal kitchens. The men would push the tables together to get prepared for meals that were shared. They'd share a glass of wine before they head home to change their clothes to get ready for dinner. And they were just, everything was sort of community. I mean, they were always together. Their activities were community. There'd be laughing, gossiping, singing, dancing. It was just very close knit. So one of the things that they found is when they studied this community and what their health was like at this time during the 60s, was they were in far better health than any of the surrounding communities. There were no suicide, no alcoholism, no drug addiction, so none of the sort of social health issues. But also they had half the risk of death of heart attack as the rest of the entire country.
Wow.
Half the risk.
Wow.
They suspected it had something to do with the way that they lived sort of communally, but they confirmed that theory when, as time went on, their children, the next generations, began to go away to study at college, or they had to, leave the community in order to find employment. And as these younger generation left and came back and brought back with them the habits of other societies, the healthy rates started to drop and the illnesses started to raise. They brought back with them a change of life where instead of everyone gathering every day, you might call or text your friend and say, let's get together next week, or let's have a 5-minute talk, as opposed to the all evening gossiping and singing and laughing that they used to have. And rates of heart attack, the social illnesses began to take hold. It just really changed their health as a community. And by the end of the 1970s, the number of fatal heart attacks in Roseto had increased to the national average. So within 10 to 20 years, so sometime in the 50s to the end of the 70s, they went from half of the average. And the major thing that had changed was simply the change in their socialization.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah,
It's not just whether we are feeling the miss of human company. It's just a really healthy thing to do. So I think we can agree that we need a tribe. Now, how do you go about finding a tribe? That's the question.
Well, yeah, definitely, because we all, even the most caviest of cavey people, like we are, we're cavey McCavertons, my friends.
I want to be Cavey McCave face.
You are definitely Cavey McCave face. I'm Cavey McCaverton.
And I believe you're replete with caviosity.
I am so replete with caviosity. That's my new favorite word, at least for the next 30 minutes or so.
For this segment.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because, even the most caviest of us, when we do get our booties out of our caves, we just blossom. Like you go out, you spend time with friends, you do whatever, and you're like, you come home and you're kind of glowing inside, and at least for me, And I sit there and I always tell myself, why don't I do this more often? Because you do, it's like these
Yeah.
natural endorphins, whether it's from the laughing or just that release of that energetic exchange with somebody else. It just really does make a difference in your overall physical being. So, yeah. So, I want to know, how do we find our tribe?
How do we? Well, I've got some ideas for you.
Okay.
And the first idea is actually the thing that I've mentioned before, as that's not the only thing that you do, but it is one of the most important things you do is that you set your intention, you ask the universe.
Hmm.
In the way that you ask the universe, there's no right or wrong way. It can be as simple as a thought, I wish I had like minded people around me. Or it could be as formal as creating a home altar. You could burn incense, bang a drum, or you could write down your old beliefs that are limiting your ability to find a community and dispose of them. Toss them in a river, burn them. You use whatever ritual or rite is comfortable and feels good for you, but set your intention. This is what I need. This is what I want. I deserve this and I'll obtain it.
Yeah, I love that. And, do a vision board. Like
Ah,
you
vision
said, there's
board.
so many, those are great ideas. There's so many good ways to basically put that out there and trigger the law of attraction. You're putting out there what you want.
I just pictured a vision board that had the faces of all of those cool people that I met at the Nation Expo.
Oh, that made
And
my heart tickle. That's so
oh my
cool.
God, because you see it too, and isn't it beautiful?
Hmm. Yes.
So the next thing, Kim, is bear in mind that you're special, but you're not that special.
Okay, well then. Gee, thank you very much. No, that's totally fine. I'm okay with that. My ego can handle it.
We can take that two
Okay.
ways. So special as in unique.
Hmm.
Okay, don't let the fact that you're unique and you have unique tastes or beliefs, and let's face it, a lot of holistically minded people are even more unique than those in their community.
Hmm.
But the fact that you're unique does not mean that there aren't other people that are unique in almost the exact same way.
Agreed.
So in that way, you're not that special.
Right.
But also they're special as in just what you thought special. So don't limit to what you think is your status or your quality. Don't limit yourself to socioeconomic equals, things like that. They have no importance. So make yourself open and remember that everybody is equally special in so many, many different ways, and none are of more value than the other. And that's super important.
Yes, I love that.
The next thing is to surround yourself with like minded individuals. So you can't meet a bunch of artists if you're not going to where the artists are. So you do have to get out there. Just like Kim, you got out there last night and you did your Bollywood thing. I mean, that's important. You go, you sign up for a workshop, you take a spiritual seminar, you do whatever attracts you and feels right for you. Don't say, I would do that if I had someone to go with,
Right.
because you'll never meet the someone to go with unless you're willing to go out there and do it first.
Yes, that's so important. I mean, that's why they have meetups, quote unquote, because
Yes.
that's where you're going to meet those people that are into what you're into. And the next time you do something, you already probably have a friend from the last meetup who might want to go with you. So, I mean, honestly, I think it's really great to go do things by yourself and like put yourself out there, and because then you're forced to talk to different people. If you go with kind of that buddy, that one friend you might have, it doesn't force you out of your comfort zone to talk to new people, which creates that tribe. I mean, we all usually have a friend, which we love and it's great, but a tribe is multiples, right? So we want that. We want to discover new people.
One of the hardest things for me, and maybe I should say this is the year of just do it for me, is don't be shy. So when you have identified, potential tribe members, you don't know where they're coming from. A lot of times, I'm going to just speak from my heart right now. A lot of times I feel like if they wanted a friend/tribe member, they would be approaching me. or they would say, hey, can I have your phone number? Here's my email address. Why don't we do something sometime? You don't know if they don't feel exactly the same way you do. You just have to find it in you. Don't be shy and take some action. And just say, here's my phone number, let's do something. Or, hey, did you hear about that activity next week? Do you want to go? Anything like that. And I know it's difficult. It's my hang up too, but I feel like it's essential to breaking through and getting the life and the community that you want.
Exactly. I mean, you put the law of attraction out there, you put your desire out there to the universe, but to create a tribe, you have to have action. Action equals creation, right? So, agreed. You have to be willing to possibly be faced with a rejection or whatever, but more than likely, I know, ooh, nobody likes
It's hard.
that word is, ugh. But I mean, honestly, more than likely, you're not even going to get a rejection
Yeah.
because you've already kind of sensed something with this individual or people or whatever, that there is some kind of connection on some level. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that is so very important.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And again, it's something that's critical enough that I'm willing to try to do the work on. So maybe I'll keep all of our listeners updated as to my progress on that. It might be,
Yeah, fabulous.
yeah, it could hold me accountable. So there
Yeah.
you go. If you have some ideas, listeners, on how I can get out there and build a tribe, please feel free to contact us and we'll give you information later. But anyway, we want to hear from you. So if you have some ideas for me, obviously, I don't know any more than you do and very possibly less. So let me hear your thoughts. But Kim, I want to tell you something that I feel is super important
Okay.
about your tribe. So we talked about how it's healthy to have a tribe and how you might be able to attract one. But I want to tell you that when you're building a tribe, please make an attempt. Be mindful about not becoming too inbred. You're in inner circle. You're very inner circle. Yeah, they may all share the same attributes, the same ideologies, and that can be strengthening to you. But be sure that you have access to peripheral tribes or in your widening circle that it contains people that have other strengths and other viewpoints. I don't know if you've ever read like the royal family, stories about the royal families in the very early days, so 1500, 1600, 1700, they would intermarry. It was just not done to marry a commoner. And there were only so many royals to be married, so they were commonly marrying even uncle and niece. Oh, I
Ew.
just got a shiver.
Ew.
Uncle and niece and cousin and so forth, and double and triple, and your uncle's cousin and your niece's stepbrother. And
Okay, now you're
anyway,
making my head hurt. Stop.
okay, and I have to apologize for all the visuals I just created,
Yeah,
but the result of that was pretty ugly.
mm-hmm.
We've seen it. There's just abnormalities. There were deformed births. There were diseases. There were genetics that passed from one to the other and just strengthened because they had the same problematic genetics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that a strong community is genetically diversified, but that also applies to spiritual and social communities as well. So it's important that you keep your heart open and your mind open and welcome other forms of thought and ideology and just other personalities. It'll only make you stronger in the long run.
Yeah, it's all about expanding and learning and exploring and, all those yummy words.
All the yummy words. And you said expanding, which is so perfect because I think you've also read, but I'm interested in like sacred geometry and how there's certain patterns that repeat and repeat. And one of the main ones is this sort of, maybe you can do this better, Kim. So this repeating pattern of nature that replicates and replicates and replicates. If you imagine like a shell that doubles and then doubles as you go around the concentric circles, doubles.
Is it the binomial?
Binomial something or other. Yes?
I think it was Binochia or
Okay,
something.
it's Binochia.
It's something spiral, I think. Anyway, I'm sure people are screaming right now saying, hello, it's this.
And we invite that email, by the way, so go
Yes, we
ahead.
do. You know, I'm going to Google it later, but still, I want you to put something on Facebook and say, hello, it's this. I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, and are they beautiful? Like, are
Yes.
the most beautiful sunflower seeds, all the flowers that are made of like chrysanthemum, things like that, that have
Hmm.
all the petals, just spectacularly beautiful. And it's just almost a mathematical beauty.
Hmm.
It's interesting that when I studied social networking in school, I discovered something that to me was equally beautiful. So we were diagramming networks of social groups and their connections of each other. And as you draw it out, there's 5 people in this group, and some of them are connected to the other group, and others are connected to another, and it moves out and ever growing. As they connect, the visual map begins to resemble an organism, and then it grows to look like a cosmos of interconnected planets and galaxies. It's like our very quantum and macrocosmic natures dictates that we form bonds that then reach out to bond with other groups. They're ever spreading until we form a universe of ourselves and our groups and our friendships and our acquaintances, our bonds. And that spreads on to bond even with other universes. It goes on eternally. So we're meant to bond by the very laws of nature.
As above, so below, my
As
friend.
above,
It,
so below.
yeah.
Just like the sunflower, we are meant to create these circles ever reaching out and just in groups from anywhere from 2 to infinity. So I just want to leave you, Kim, by saying just remember that we're as much one collectively as we are singly, and for no other reason. Like, if you don't think of anything else with your tribes, it's such a sacred thing because it's part of this sacred pattern.
Oh, that's such beautiful imagery to just see your tribe as a beautiful flower and all the petals and or that beautiful spiral that, you know. I love how that picture that paints in your mind.
It's so interesting when you actually do plot it out,
Hmm.
actually on a computer for social networks, the way we're so interconnected. We're just not isolated in the way that we think we are.
No, we're all aspects of the one being. The
Mm.
one being, we're aspects of that and we're being in this form. And so we are going to continue that on together and we need to interact and be together and create this world. So, love this topic.
Thank you. And you made such a good point right now that we're all like aspects of that one being, because I wonder if like microcells in an organism sometimes don't feel like they don't have a tribe and they're individual. And if they could pull back and pull back and pull back, they would see how they're such a part of a beautiful whole.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably the case. I mean, it's all from the like you always talk about quantum physics. I mean, down to the, you know, the minutest, it's all the same. It
Yes.
just kind of it's on a smaller scale. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I love quantum physics, and I
I
am the
know.
last one that should talk about it.
Right?
But
Because uh
yeah,
yeah.
because we know.
No, no, because I'm the last one that should
I'm the
talk about it.
second to the last
Okay.
that should talk
Yeah.
about it.
Okay.
But it's so comforting to me because it
Right.
meshes so beautifully with the spiritual.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you.
I
And
thoroughly dug that.
as one of the primary members of my tribe, I'd like to know
Aw.
what have you been up to?
Well, we'll get into this right after this break.
Hey Kim, I was browsing for holistic goods and services online the other day, and I came across an awesome site. You may have heard of it, the Nation.
Hello. Have you even met me? I've known about it since its inception, perhaps because I founded
I
it.
do like to tease you because you're so easy. But seriously, if you weren't my sister, I would definitely say that the Nation site at theomnation.com is truly an awesome resource for all things holistic. Not only is it a super directory of goods and services catering to people who are looking to live the best lives possible, but it also includes all kinds of goodies like free meditations, the Om Chair, which is a monthly blog by members, special events, and special offers.
That's right. The Om Nation, it's an online directory and it's a growing community of spiritually minded, holistic businesses and practitioners, all offering services and products which assist in personal transformation and growth.
I think it's a great place for all our holistically curious listeners to go for resources, but it's also a wonderful place for any of our listeners who are holistic vendors or practitioners to associate themselves with. Holistically Curious is a member of the Om Nation and enjoys the many benefits of membership.
That's right, Teresa. So friends, go to theomnation.com and check out all the benefits of membership. And when you're ready, we invite you to go ahead and fill out that online application.
Whether you're looking for goods and services or you're a holistic business looking for a platform to reach holistically curious consumers, the Om Nation is where you want to be.
All right, Teresa. So today I want to discuss ways that our loved ones who have passed on communicate with us.
No!
Yes.
Okay, I'm so happy and I'm so mad that you picked that before I did. Oh my
I know,
God.
I'm so sorry.
Yay!
But I figure you'll have so much to say about this.
Oh my God.
So
Okay.
you can join in anytime you want. Feel free to interject as often as you like.
I just got the shivvies.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
so let's dive in. So basically, we're going to talk about our loved ones who have passed on, but they're basically those who are physically dead and how they communicate with those of us who are physically living. And I say physically dead because I don't believe that people die, but I think that they undergo a metamorphosis where they shed their physical bodies and they release their energetic body, or what people call the soul or the spirit. I think they're still alive, but they're just in a different form. So that being said, before we get into the ways that the physically dead communicate with us, we need to address one obvious elephant in the room. And that is, in order for someone to recognize a communication from a person who's passed, they would need to believe that a part of us continues on after the body no longer lives.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah, they need to believe in an afterlife.
Right.
Because otherwise you're not going to recognize it.
And that can be hard. That can be very hard.
It can be. Yes, it can be hard. It's definitely a belief that it takes some time for some people. But one thing that helps, and I think it's interesting, and it's something that you'll definitely be into, is that the further that quantum physicists peer into the nature of reality, the more evidence they're finding that everything's energy at the most fundamental levels. And I believe this is a very clear scientific indication that there is indeed life after death. We know through thermodynamics that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It simply changes state.
You know, you give me the shivers when you use science.
I know, because
It's a thing.
I thank God for research and cultivating other people's articles, which obviously will put our sources on the website and Facebook. But yeah, because if I had to come up with the science, it wouldn't be there. But I love it.
I love it because, again, we just mentioned, but it's so comforting.
It is.
It just adds that extra layer to me that says, not only do I believe, but here's some proof.
Exactly.
So
and
lay it on me.
Exactly. So, like I said, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It simply changes its state. And the total amount of energy in an isolated system does not or cannot change. It's just changing the way the energy is formed, but it's still all there. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the universe as a whole is closed. Therefore, the universe is an isolated system. However, human bodies are not closed, they're open systems.
Mm-hmm.
So we exchange energy with our surroundings. We gain energy through chemical processes, we eat, we exercise, we use our energy, we lose it by expelling waste, emitting heat. And then in our physical death, the collection of atoms of which you're composed of, they're just repurposed. So at the moment of physical death, some of those atoms are energy that make up your energetic body or soul. They separate from the physical body. They just move on to a different dimension or energetic realm or whatever you want to call it. Some people call it heaven, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the energy of the physical body, it's simply repurposed through chemical processes, and it's going to be utilized however the universe sees fit. You know, we go back dust to dust, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
So I really believe without a belief in some kind of afterlife, I believe it would be just so much more difficult for an individual to recognize when a communication from someone physically dead was happening. And therefore, the communication, it wouldn't even register in their consciousness.
Yeah. And
Yeah, and
I feel like you have to like open the book and look at it to read the words that are on the page. And if you don't even know there's a book and you're not even looking in the direction of the book, there's a disconnect there.
wow.
But that can be fixed, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
and it's through things like, you know, understanding science, understanding spirituality, researching, working on those concepts. And it's interesting you say that about the book because this whole process, this whole idea of being open to seeing these communications, these signs from our loved ones, it all refers back to a concept that in scientific circles they call ships not seen. And
Interesting.
yeah, it's a phrase that refers to concepts, theories, ideas, or viewpoints that are in front of your eyes, but that your mind can't perceive. So, ships not seen is a phrase that refers to the old tale of ships visible to the anatomy of the eye, but invisible or not recognizable to the perception of the mind. This tale is found in various forms in journals and ship's logs of early European explorers to the New Worlds, particularly Christopher Columbus, Ferdinand Magellan, and James Cook, each of them describing local natives not being able to perceptually see the large ships on the shore because the ships were beyond their understanding or just outside of their experience or realm of knowledge. So in order to perceive something, we need to believe that it exists or that it's even possible.
Yeah, that's absolute science. I had read an article about that there's infinite times more things to see visually for like one human being. Like right now, I'm looking at a clock. There's infinitely more things to be seen in this room than my mind could possibly process or even maybe bear to process. So your mind actually selectively sees.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see if that I don't see any of those things that I don't
Yes.
see. Does that make sense? I don't see anything that I'm not processing. So if they can't process and they've got no concept that it could even be a thing to be processed, they were probably looking at completely
Yes.
uncluttered sea with maybe a seagull flying by, but no ship. And it sounds impossible, but it literally is a scientific thing. That's amazing.
Yeah, they've proven it time and time again, and it is fascinating. And I think that could go down a whole rabbit hole of talking about how people used to talk about being able to visualize fairies and all sorts of creatures and angels and things like that that most of us don't see anymore. And there's that theory from some people in holistic community that we just, most of us shut down that perception because we don't think it's possible or that they aren't real. But that's a whole nother can of worms that we're not going to get into right now.
That's for another day, my
That is for
friend. Another
another
day.
day. So, yeah, so I really firmly believe that our departed loved ones are absolutely capable of communicating with us from this newfound position of spirit that they're in.
So, spoiler alert, they
Yes,
do,
so spoiler alert.
because we
Yes,
know
we
that.
do. I'm
So,
preaching to the
yeah.
choir, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think they have a strong desire to do so because of the bonds of love
Mm.
that they have for those of us still on earth and their desire to alleviate our grief. They know that we're missing them, and I think they want us to know they're still here. They want us to know they're still present in our lives, albeit in a very different way.
Yeah.
They use the physical environment surrounding us to give us afterlife signs, and they also communicate with us by sending telepathic messages. I believe they try to connect with us quite frequently. Psychic James Van Praagh, which a lot of people recognize his name,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, he put together a list of the 10 most common ways our departed loved ones contact us. And I've kind of condensed this down to 8. I've combined a couple of them. And so here we go. We're going to start with number 1. So, the most common ways that our departed loved ones contact us are through dream visits. That's
Yes.
number 1. The departed often speak to us clearly and vividly in our dreams, and there's nothing frightening about these visits. They're just a wonderful way for the departed to spend time with us and provide us with guidance and support.
I have dream visits from our dad, as I know you do, and
Mhm.
they're so clearly different from a dream of a visit. So different.
I agree. I think for me, a dream visitation feels energetically different than just dreaming about that person. And it's hard to put into words, but there's a knowing and a heightened energy around that visitation, both for me
Hmm.
within the dream and then even after I wake up from the dream.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love those. In fact, usually when I wake up, I'm just like, can I go back to sleep? I'm not done.
Uh, yes. And it makes you so
So
grateful
grateful.
as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that visit.
Yes.
I don't think it's easy. Well, I don't know. Maybe everything's easy once you pass, but it seems like it'd be hard. So I
I
appreciate
I
it.
think gratitude is a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
So let's move on to number 2. The second way that our loved ones will communicate is through visions or sensing a presence. So you may sense a presence in the room or possibly a breeze going by you when there shouldn't be one. This can be a sign that a spirit is reaching out to you. Some people feel a sensation of love and peace, perhaps a sudden weight on the bed, or maybe you wake up at the exact same time that a loved one has passed. You might see a loved one in the room or in your mind's eye when you're fully awake. They could look transparent, semi transparent, whitish, or in full color. A vision might come in the form of a loved one's face in the mirror or a window. And Teresa, seeing someone who looks like your loved one when you've been thinking about them and really needing to see them is also a sign that they're near.
Oh, that's nice. So it's almost like the way that you envision the actual human person is affected.
I think, or they really are somebody who resembles your loved one, who physically has the appearance of a lot of attributes of your loved one, but they're put within it's orchestrated so that you will have contact with them.
So, yes, somehow they're affected in a way that causes them to enter a space where you could see them.
Exactly.
Love it.
Yeah. Let's move on to the third way, which are scents. So, unexplained scents or the aroma of anything that you associate with your departed loved one could be a message. It could be their favorite flower, perfume, cigar, or pipe smoke.
Mm-hmm.
It's just their subtle way of letting you know they're near. I don't know. I don't think I've ever experienced this from our father. I don't know if you've ever had anything like this.
I haven't, but I bet you could tell me what we would smell if we did.
Oh my gosh. No, I feel like this is like the $20 million question. I don't know. I'm thinking cherry pipe smoke. Is that right?
Bravo!
Oh,
Of course. And he didn't even smoke pipe for
no.
that long, but yes, that's the scent. And a
Yeah.
little bit of Old Spice.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, But so many people, worlds of his generation were Old Spice, you would never know if it was him or
That
just
would be
another
a good
old guy.
guess. That could be
Indeed.
anybody's dad.
Indeed. You just say, like, hey, dad, whoever dad you
Yeah.
are.
Dad with a lowercase d.
Exactly, my friend. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So Dad, if you want to let us know you're around, a little cherry pipe smoke
Mm,
would be amazing.
amazing.
Amazing. So the fourth way that our loved ones communicate with us is through sounds of music. Musical signs can come in the form of a meaningful song being played in your head or a song being played on the radio.
Hmm.
Sometimes this is at an opportune time that's really meaningful to you. Music seems to really be a favorite means of communication used by our loved ones. It seems that music is manipulated fairly easily by those experiencing life after death, probably due to its vibratory nature and its unique frequency.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. Yeah, when I read that, I was like, wow, that really makes sense because we're all vibration.
Yes,
Everything is vibration and energy, so I would think that that would be much easier to manipulate.
absolutely.
Many, Teresa, who are grieving the loss of a loved one have relayed experience of hearing songs that are highly relevant to the departed, playing at very unlikely yet definitely perfect moments for
Hmm.
them. Number 5, and I love the what this one is titled. It's called God Incidences. In quotes, God Incidences. So these are lucky and amazing coincidences which are called God incidences.
That sounds like when God winks.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I equate it to, are God winks.
Hmm.
And so James Van Praagh came up with this term God incidences,
Hmm.
which is equally beautiful. He believes that these coincidences or synchronicities are special blessings from God in answer to your prayers and or your loved one's prayers for you.
Oh.
So your loved one may very well have helped in setting up this God incidence for you.
Hmm.
So I have an example of a God incidence that happened shortly after our father passed. And okay, I'm going to tell you.
Okay, but I'll be jealous if I didn't get it.
You probably heard this story. Okay, well, you weren't here. So, but you've probably heard this story. So, shortly after dad passed, our mom came to visit my family, me and my family in Austin. And we went downtown to a restaurant, and on our way home, we ended up turning onto the wrong street. And we'd never been on this particular road before. It was like a really kind of off the beaten path type road, and it ended at a T. And right there before us was a cemetery. And as we came to the T of the road, there was a humongous, massive marker with one word written on it. And that
Oh,
one word was Craig, which, as you know, is our father's name,
Dad's name.
as you well know. Yes. And I
Oh,
really know that this was a message from him. I mean, we all just,
oh.
it was like we all said thank you. But that to me is a God incident where we turned down that road not by quote unquote accident, but it was an answer to a prayer for us to know that he wanted us to know that he knows we're thinking of him and miss him and he loves us.
How many times can I say in one podcast episode how grateful I am to him?
Well, if it's up to me, um, um, if you ask me, you'll get one answer. The listeners might click off after a
Okay, can the
while.
listeners just assume from now on that
Yes,
I'm thinking how grateful I am to him, and we'll just move on?
yes,
Okay.
yes. But I think that they know, and anybody who's lost a loved one that's received these
Mm,
messages definitely understands because we are grateful.
yeah.
We want and need to see these messages. So let's move on to number 6.
Okay. Number 6.
Number 6 is winged messengers.
No.
Yes,
Okay.
our favorite.
That's yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
our spirit animal.
it's our spirit animal. Your loved one may send wing messengers as a sign that they're always by your side. And I've had personally friends that have told me that their loved ones communicate with them in this way. Some of them receive cardinals,
Mm-hmm.
some receive dragonflies, and I've had friends tell me they receive butterflies from their loved ones.
Yes.
And of course, Teresa. As you
Yes.
know, our family has had many communications from our father through ladybugs.
So many and so appropriately timed, it defies any laws of coincidence.
And definitely.
Yeah.
And there's so many occasions where we're thinking of our father. One of us has been thinking about our father. We're either having a very bad day or even a very good day.
Yes. Yes.
And then just lo and behold, a ladybug shows up. I know I've received ladybugs inside buildings during the middle of winter, just at the most unusual places and circumstances that you would never think to see a ladybug, we get them. I think, Teresa, didn't someone receive a ladybug when they were in the middle of Target shopping?
I don't recall that, but I do believe, for one thing, that our sister in Iran, or maybe her, well, her and one of her daughters have received ladybugs. And I'm pretty sure she said they didn't have ladybugs in Iran, or it was the complete wrong season, or something that
Mm-hmm.
was beyond thought. And it was at a major, major crossroads of life that comfort was so much needed.
Yeah.
Also, I think, well, can we give a little background on that, Kim?
Sure.
Because I'd like you to give the background, if you want to, briefly on why ladybugs even would be a thing for us, because there's a reason it's not cardinals or dragonflies, and a reason that it's easy for us to identify that would come from Dad.
Definitely, Teresa. When our father was ill before he passed, we, I'm not even sure how it started, but we just, I guess because we'd always heard ladybugs were good luck.
Yes.
When he was ill, we all just started buying different things that had ladybugs on them. So cards, little stuffed animals, little figurines, and just all different types of things that you can imagine that would have ladybugs on them. And it just kind of became a thing. And so when he passed, I think that was something he knew that we would recognize from him. It was a sure sign that we would totally pick up on that.
We linked it so inexorably with him, with his illness. I think you yourself started it. I think you brought him a ladybug and a four-leaf clover at one point, and that was just the start. And it really was so linked to us that it was not too long after our dad passed that Mom was at work,
Mm-hmm.
and she worked in a smallish high rise, but she worked in a high rise, and she was working sort of late in the evening. She was all by herself. She was so sad and just felt so without him. It was still very fresh. And all of a sudden she heard like pattering on the glass, and a whole swarm, like a swarm of ladybugs were hitting the glass and attaching to the glass. It was like she had like hundreds or thousands of
Mm-hmm.
ladybugs. I think that was the first major
Yeah.
visit. But doesn't it make sense in a way that some of these, like insects especially, but even like birds and things like that, they probably have a much less complicated brain, and that they would be maybe more likely to be affected energetically. That you could put an electrical impulse to them that would cause them to fly this way or that way, or land on her arm, land on her brand new house she just picked out as a sign to say, honey, I'm glad that you moved here to be near Kim.
Yeah. On the inside of the home, on the inside of the
Yeah.
window, as we're about to leave and deciding whether or not she should buy it, she sees a ladybug.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just those kind of things. And you're right. I mean, the story about Mom and that flock of ladybugs, I don't even know what you call swarm, horde. First of all, I didn't even know that they ever did that, which is so
No.
weird. And then to be up on like the third story, I didn't. I guess they fly that high. I don't know, but it was bizarre to have hundreds of them
Yeah.
smacking against a window.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Teresa, just one real quick thing about another flying creature that I love is, do you remember at Dad's funeral that my father was in the military,
Oh, I
and
love
he just,
this.
yeah,
Sorry.
he just had a regular, a regular beautiful service.
And this is such a beautiful story.
I want you to tell it. I want you to tell it.
I'm telling it because I'm afraid you won't tell it right.
And I probably won't. I have I have the memory of a gnat. So that's going to be my winged creature. When I pass, when you see gnats, you're going to know it's me.
Oh, God, please no. Can you choose something else? Thanks a lot. I'm going to be
Yeah,
mosquitoes if you're going to
that's
choose
right.
gnats.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
But I feel so controlling, but I don't want you to tell it wrong because
I
it
want you
was
to tell
the
it
most
right.
amazing thing. So, so our dad was a huge news hound, and he was always watching. At that time, they had court TV, and he was watching reality TV, anything to do with news or crimes or war or anything like that. And he was in the hospital and already terminal by September 11th. And we knew when September 11th of 2001 hit that we were going to lose him because he had no interest whatsoever in the news. So just to lay a foundation of there's a connection with September 11th. So he did pass October 31st of the same year. And at his funeral, he had a full military funeral. He was a retired lieutenant colonel. And he had the escort and they played taps. But at that time, they couldn't do a gun salute, although they had the guns, but they couldn't shoot them off because of September 11th. So there were great restrictions on things like that. And they played taps. But anyway, apparently at just the appropriate time, a flock of geese flew over. And I'm going to cry because the geese were flying in a missing man formation. So people who are in the military, or maybe you've just seen it, but there's a formation that planes fly in where it's like a perfect V, but then it's missing just one unit, one plane to make that perfect V, and it's the missing man. And that's what they would often do at funerals. And those geese were flying in the missing man formation for my dad. And that one I think touches me more than any other because I don't think it's completely him causing that. To me, in my heart, it was his loved ones that had passed over or his God. It was our love for him. It was all the energy
Mhm.
that was for him that caused that to happen. But it was so beautiful and it was so comforting. And it took some of that loss that we had of September 11th, and we couldn't do things exactly the way that we would have done for him. It took that pain away and it gave us a complete ceremony to try to heal our hearts.
Definitely. And it was that moment of levity, too, which was so like him to kind of crack a joke or make us all laugh
Yes.
about something. Not that he was, a jokester so much, but he had a way of making people comfortable and at ease. And I feel like it was just right. It was respectful for him, but it was also something he would want for us to have that moment of where everybody kind of laughed a little bit and we all knew what that signified. And it was just perfect.
It was so appropriate, and you're right, because your husband said Grampy got his flyover,
Mhm.
and we all laughed, and it was
Yeah.
beautiful. So beautiful.
Well, I'm glad you shared that story. And I'm glad that I didn't because I wouldn't have shared it correctly.
Yeah, I'll step on your toes anytime
Oh,
you like,
thank
as long
you.
as you promise to rescue me when I don't know my story.
Oh, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not, no
No
rescuing shall
rescue.
commence. No. All right, my friend, let's
Okay.
move on to number 7.
Number 7.
Number 7, and remember, these are their 8, so we're almost done.
Phew.
Number 7 is, I know, direct communication.
Uh, Whoa.
So, the
So I'm not
depart,
even
yes,
knowing what that is.
I know, direct communication where they actually talk to us.
Wow. Okay.
They are definitely capable of communicating with us directly. In fact, I really think they tried to do it all the time. It's just that many of us are simply not, and most of us, honestly, are not tuned in enough to hear their voice.
Mm.
And this is the reason why the physically dead so often signal us through signs or these manipulations of the environment that we've talked about previously. Because in order to speak directly or communicate telepathically with them, we have to be in a place where we're vibrating at a frequency whereby our energies are accessible to them.
Uh-huh. That's a very high vibration, I think.
Yes, exactly. And this is also has to do with the law of attraction. It's the result of the law of attraction, which is always present and which also applies to life after death communication and all forms of telepathic communication.
And can I just say it's quantum physics?
You can say that all you want because I love it so much. Okay. So this means that we must be a match to the energy of those residing in spirit. So Teresa, this means that we must be a match to the energy of those residing in spirit. Those who are experiencing life after physical death are vibrating at a much higher rate than most of us residing in this physical dimension. In order to communicate with us, the deceased must adjust their vibration to that of the earthly plane. And if we're to hear them, we must adjust our vibration to their higher frequency.
Oh.
And this is much like tuning a radio receiver to broadcast a particular station. So we got to fine tune it.
I hadn't thought about that. So you're saying basically, so if they're, which I think a much higher vibration, or let's just say a faster vibration for this, and we're lower or slower, we need to speed up or become higher, and they may need to somehow slow down a little bit.
Exactly.
Ooh,
Precisely.
I wouldn't want to do that if I were them.
Right? It's like, do I love them that much?
Oh, really? I bet it doesn't feel as good.
Well, some recently parted spirits, they want to communicate by lowering their vibration, but they're just not fully comfortable in their new energetic state. And they're not ready. They can't quite, figure out how to manipulate it yet. And then there's other souls that want to, but they're just on to their next stage of their soul's journey. So they really aren't accessible to do that. Belief and desire are two factors that apply when it comes to the law of attraction. And so therefore they contribute to our overall frequency. So it's very important we go back to that belief that you have that it's possible, because it really does affect your frequency.
Yeah.
Both belief and desire are extremely important in reaching the necessary energetic level for successful contact with our deceased loved ones. When we receive afterlife proof, our belief will be greatly strengthened. So once you kind of receive a message actually gets through, then it strengthens that belief, and it gets easier and easier. It's like snowballs, As that snowball goes down the hill and it keeps building, it just gets bigger and bigger. It's the same way.
Right.
And this explains why it often seems so difficult to receive an initial sign of communication from our loved one. But once we recognize communication from them, it really does start occurring more and more often. All right, Teresa. So now we're at number 8.
Number 8.
Number 8, the last one, last but not least, is numbers. And it's interesting because I really haven't experienced this. I haven't really noticed this with visitations from our father. I know that there's people that have expressed this to me, that they get numbers. But a lot of people begin to notice meaningful numbers showing up on things like license plates, sales receipts, all sorts of random things. Maybe they notice something on the clock. It could be your loved one's birthday, your anniversary, or the date of their passing. And, if this is something that you do receive, just know that this is a message from your loved one. And I really believe you'll feel that energetically. When it is a message, I feel like there's an energy surrounding that it helps signify it. I just think with our dad, he's so busy giving us ladybugs, he just does not have time. And plus, he never was really that great with numbers.
Oh,
so
yeah, and he knows
let's be
that you
honest.
can't tell time. So.
And he knows I can't tell time, and numbers, like just anything with numbers on it. I could totally tell time if it didn't have numbers on it. Like if a clock had no numbers, if there were letters,
Yeah.
I'd totally get it.
Just spell it out
So, yes.
for me.
Exactly. So that's number 8. And, these are just ways that our loved ones that are physically dead connect with us. And of course, there are probably numerous, countless other ways that other people have received messages from their loved ones. But these are just kind of some of the 8 biggest ways that people have received messages. And it really is all about opening up your mind and your soul and being open to receiving these communications. And if you do, I really believe that you will recognize communications from your loved one, and this will really help you feel the love of that departed person in your life.
Yeah, you're so right, Kim. I think that once you do recognize a communication, it's almost like you're building that muscle and you'll recognize more and
Hmm.
more.
Agreed.
And you
Yeah.
will fully understand why I use the word gratitude continuously.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a blessing. It definitely is a blessing from our loved ones on the other side.
That is so beautiful. And I'm so jealous that you chose that subject.
Nanny, nanny,
I
boo,
know,
boo.
seriously, it's so good and so
Yeah.
important. And, we know ourselves the value of it in our lives. But I tell you what,
Mm,
every friend that I ever get into a discussion like this about has their own story about communication. So it's so universal.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even the people that would go, oh, this is an odd podcast. They talk about weird things. If you ask them if they had an experience like this, they definitely did. So,
Yeah.
wow.
Very cool.
So, listen, yeah, we have shared a lot of information and we didn't think it all up in our little heads. Some of it,
No, we didn't.
some of it is our opinions and things that we just, know from absorption or osmosis. But we also have our sources that we're citing, and we'll have links to all of those sources. We'll have all that information on our webpage.
Yes. And on Facebook, I'll put it on there. Yep. Perfect. Yes. So Teresa, I'd
Yes,
say we have talked enough, my
we
friend.
have
Let's
talked
let
enough.
these people go.
Well, I think there's one more thing to be said about communication.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah, I think there's something we need to communicate to our listeners.
Let's do it.
Okay. Stay
Stay curious.
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 Bye.